Hello, I'm fitness coach Scott Keppel, and today I'm going to help teach you how to live a life better after having breast cancer. Breast cancer is something that's very important and dear to my heart, as my wife Melissa Keppel had breast cancer twice. First time she was diagnosed was over 5 years ago, after which time I decided to get certified in post-breast cancer training. At that time, too, I decided to create an event to help raise awareness. It's our Busting Butts to Save Breasts event that we hold every year in October, where we donate the proceeds to a local charity to help women dealing with breast cancer. My wife later, a couple years after her first diagnosis, was diagnosed with breast cancer again. At this point, we decided that she was going to have a double mastectomy. And from there, on her road to recovery, she ended up tearing one of her implants in her sleep, actually, and she had to have surgery again. So she's had lumpectomies, double mastectomy, cancer twice. So she's been put through the gamut, and so have our family. But we survived, and this book is for all of you that are on your road to recovery and letting you know you don't have to do this alone. I know at times you're going to feel that way. I know at times you're going to struggle. The ones that love you, they're going to struggle as well too. I'm not going to lie, it is a challenge. It is not easy at times, but you must maintain that faith that in the end everything will work out. My book, A Fit Guide to Post-Breast Cancer Recovery, is not a cure. So let's get that right out there. It is not meant for everyone. You know, even though I do think everyone could benefit from at least something in the book. So that's what we want to discuss today is how can we help empower you to live a life better knowing that you've had cancer or maybe you're still going through it. You know, first thing that you definitely want to do is make sure you consult with a physician. And once he or she says that you're clear to exercise is when you would want to even think about using the tips in this book as far as exercise goes. In this book, though, and it's meant to help teach you how to eat, foods you should try and eat to help build your immune system, foods you should avoid, mental tips, exercise tips, and just words of encouragement. So I'm really excited for our book. Again, A Fit Guide to Post-Breast Cancer Recovery. And for the rest of October 2015, the book will only be $19. Afterwards, the book is going to go up to $39. In addition, for the first 10 people that buy the book, I'm willing to give you 4 weeks of online coaching, meeting once a week online or phone, FaceTime, Skype, whatever's best for you. I know there's a bunch of different age demographics that are going to be interested in the book. So whatever way is best for you to communicate, that's what we'll do, because part of this is it needs to be a lifestyle again. And it takes about 21 to 28 days to form a habit, which is why I want to give you those 4 weeks after to help you stay on track. Again, that's limited to the first 10. Anyone after those first 10 can still get that for $99. And typically it's $150 for a month, which it'll go up to in November. So again, in October, you can get the book for only $19, and you can get that online coaching for the first 10 people. So let's get into the book. Let's discuss what you're going to get out of it and all the benefits of it. So one of the chapters, actually the first chapter in the book, after the foreword from my wife, Melissa, are 7 tips. So I'd like to go over those tips with you. So please grab a pen, grab some paper. We're going to give you a lot of information today, so I suggest you take some notes. If you miss something, obviously you can go back and watch this again. Please, I encourage you to share it too. You know, that's why we want to do a free webinar. Share it with anyone you know that is dealing with breast cancer, has dealt with breast cancer, someone you know that has a loved one dealing with breast cancer. Again, this book is not just for those dealing with it, but for those that are helping someone. That way they know what they're going through. And that's why myself as a male wrote the book. You might be wondering, why did I? Again, having a background in personal training, wanting to make sure my wife was going to recover as quickly and as safely as she could, I wanted to gain the knowledge to help share with her and now with many other women. So again, the first things we're going to go over are 7 tips that I feel are crucial for anyone getting back into exercise. So grab a pen and paper and get ready, because we're going to go into the 7 tips that I feel are crucial for anyone dealing with breast cancer. These are going to be some great tips, and again, throughout we'll have those. We're also going to stop throughout the webinar to answer any questions that you may have. So please feel free to fire those questions at me, as I want this to be as informative and helpful to you as it can be. So with those tips, and I'm going to pull up some slides for you so you can see what's in the book. I feel many individuals will learn better by visually seeing what they can get out of the book. So the 7 tips, and you won't see them all right here. I'm not going to show you everything in the book because it's over 50 pages. So I don't want to bore you with every single page right now. I want to make sure that we're able to answer some questions too. But the 7 tips are: 1, start slowly. Whether you had surgery, radiation, chemotherapy, whatever form of treatment you may have had, your body and you have gone through a lot of stress. You're not going to be as strong as you once were out of the gate rather. So if you were once more fit and you exercise more, you're probably going to recover a lot sooner than an individual that didn't. If you had radiation versus chemotherapy versus surgery, while all of those are definitely trained in their own way, you're going to be able to get back at exercise a little sooner. So again, you must have your doctor's okay before you start anything. Focus on good posture. For many of you, after going through this, especially if it was a double mastectomy, you're going to have a little more tightness in that area, or even if you had a lumpectomy. You may also not love that area. You may find that you're emotionally detached from it, so you round out those shoulders. We need to make sure you have good posture. You open up those shoulders, you open up your upper back. We work the core, but all those things that are going to help, because over long term, that can lead to you rounding out that back as you get older. Stay positive. I realize it's much easier said than done, but you must know you're strong, you're beautiful, you are a survivor. Remind yourself daily that you deserve to feel and look the way you want. What I suggest some people do too is write down each day 3 goals. And they shouldn't all be fitness related. Some might be to spend more time with your loved ones. One might be to, take care of some chores that you have to. Call a friend that you haven't talked to. Exercise. But by setting these daily goals and achieving them each day, that's going to help build up your confidence. Focus on the joy of exercise. If you love to run and you're able to run, go run. If you love strength training, do some strength training. And again, that's what this book will go into. And we'll get into that as far as some of those movements. If you've never exercised, definitely start off slowly, as we suggested earlier, but you must exercise. That's going to release endorphins. It's going to help you feel better. It's going to help you just long term, even if you had breast cancer or you didn't. Be realistic with your time. Know, especially if you're currently going through any treatments, you have time there. Maybe you have a family. You have time there. Maybe you're working. You have time there. You probably won't be able to exercise as much as you once did because you must recover first. So you might not be able to exercise 4 days a week. You might have to go down to 1 or 2. But focus on what you can get in, and again, make sure you have that clearance. Find an accountability partner. For some of you, that may be your spouse. It may be your friend. It may be a coach, whoever it is. But have that accountability partner. Not only one to make sure you do get to your exercises or you do stay on point with things, but maybe that person that you respect enough that if they say, hey, listen, you need to slow down. You need to be positive. You don't just bite their head off, right? You do listen to them and you do slow down. I know this is something I've had to do with my wife, God love her, a couple times, is because she just so badly wanted to get back to where she once was. And she's a strong woman. But sometimes I had to tell her, Melissa, you need to slow down a little bit. Otherwise, you're going to end up regressing. And not regressing as far as the cancer goes, but you're now going to maybe injure something because you haven't been working out as hard. Get a coach, a certified coach in post-breast cancer. An individual that has the background, because the movements aren't that challenging necessarily for us as coaches, because hopefully you have a coach that knows functional movements and knows how the body works. But there's a lot more to it when you're recovering. There's the mindset that's involved. There's the nutrition that's involved. And again, I am not a dietitian. The tips that I have throughout here come through several dietitians that have studied breast cancer. They're tips that have worked for my wife and I, but I don't want to mislead anyone into that I am a dietitian, because I am not, but I do work with dietitians. So you want to have a coach, a support team that knows what you're going through. It might even be a counselor. My wife had a counselor that specializes in women who have had cancer. My wife went to physical therapy. We have a great physical therapy institute out by several of them, but one that she went to, and it really helped her out a lot. So we can't thank Larissa enough for everything she did to help my wife. And myself as a coach, I was able to work hand in hand with her. So those are some of the things that you can focus on, some of the tips, and there's so many other, but those 7 tips I feel will really help you during this journey. So what I'd like to do now is take a minute to see if there's any questions that have come in, and just remind you again that after this, sign up for the book, get the book, those first 10, you will receive the 4 weeks of coaching. So that's something that, maybe your coaching is you need some help with some ideas, recipes, you have a family, maybe you need ideas with exercise, maybe you need some ideas as who to reach, and I can help you with those resources. Again, I don't have all the answers. I don't claim to, but I probably have a better idea than you do as to where to find those answers. So we'll see if any questions have come in right now that relate to the first chapter that we just went over, and keep them coming in. But what I'm going to do is, if I see some come in and I feel maybe they're going to be answered a little later on or go better with another topic, I'm going to wait. And one of the questions that came in, which is a great one, is how do I know if my coach is certified in post-breast cancer? And that's a good one. There are websites. I actually try to find them. That's something I think would be great to have listed. Some institutes will put that they work with someone, but there really is not anything that I've seen stating every certification out there for someone post-breast cancer. So I'd say the best thing you can do is ask, the coach, ask the facility if you already have a coach. Maybe you can ask him or her. If you have a coach and he or she is not certified, and in any way I can help, please have them reach out to me. I'd love to share some knowledge with them and have them help you out. I do train individuals online. I have clients across the world. So if it's something that you need and you want my expertise on, I would love to help you with that. So the next thing I wanted to discuss is nutrition. Again, not a dietitian, but I definitely have some tips that have helped us. We've seen on breastcancer.org. We've seen through dietitians that we work with locally in consulting with them as far as certain foods. And in there we have our 10 foods that we recommend individuals to try and eat. We have foods that you should try and avoid. And then we also have, we have a grocery list in there. This is not a diet. We don't have, you should eat exactly this amount of carbs or proteins or fats or this amount of fruits, because everyone's so different. If you're a 50-year-old woman who weighs 120 pounds, your nutrition needs are going to be different than an individual who is 45 and maybe 180 pounds. We do have in the back of the book a way of calculating how many calories and macronutrients, protein, carbs, and fats you need. Again, those are just guidelines. I highly recommend you consult with someone that can help you, but if you don't have access to that, at least this book will give you guidelines on that. So some of those foods that we suggest individuals eat are blueberries. Blueberries are great with antioxidants. We also suggest individuals to eat salmon. It's a great healthy fat, omega-3s. Omega-3 fats are really good for inflammatory. What studies have shown us is when our bodies are inflamed due to stress, whether due to work, family, health, even nutrition, because if you're not eating the right foods for you, that places a stress on your body. And when we are under stress, it compromises our immune system. You've just beat cancer, but your immune system is not the same right now. And it may never be the same. So we really want to build up that immune system. Avocados are another great source of fat. Again, turmeric is something great you can add to foods. There's several studies out there about the benefits of turmeric. And again, we go into a little more detail on each of these foods. And I suggest, you Google them and just research a little bit. I realize not everyone is a blueberry fan, so fruit in general, but there are some fruits that are going to help your immune system more than others. Some foods that you should avoid, having had cancer, in particular having breast cancer. I would suggest, you avoid soy. Or again, these foods, limit them at least. Soy tends to increase estrogen levels. From everything I've researched, again, and seen, breast cancer feeds off of estrogen. So we really don't want to give it any more than what it's already getting. So I would limit your intake of soy. Now remember, that's edamame too, that's soybeans. Sometimes I've had people say, I didn't realize that was soy. Well, it says it in its name, but I get that you might. Certain protein powders too have soy isolates in it. So you may want to avoid those and go to something more of like a rice pea blend. That's what we do personally too. And so those are some ways you want to really start to read labels. Because again, my wife, she's healthy. We thought, and cancer doesn't run in her family. No one had the gene. Her mother never had it. Relatives never had it. She doesn't smoke. She barely drinks, doesn't do drugs, anything like that. And then next thing you know, she had cancer. And again, we cleaned up the eating even more, and she got it again. So you never know. But so avoid soy. Alcohol. We want to limit our intake of alcohol. We should do this just for general health anyways. I don't know too many people that would say it's healthy to go out and drink, 6 beers or 6 shots, and because it's going to compromise your immune system. It's going to also compromise how you're going to function the next day. So we want to limit that. Refined carbohydrates. Refined carbohydrates would be our junk food, our sugars, chips, sodas. Again, those foods are going to place a stress on our immune system. So I'm not saying the rest of your life necessarily has to be bland, from what I know. But again, you can consult with your physician as well too. But we definitely want to limit those from previously having had cancer. Another thing we want to limit is saturated fats. Saturated fats would be, our fried foods, solid fats, red meat. There's several studies that say, to limit your red meat intake, because most individuals don't digest it as well as they do other sources of protein, say fish, turkey, chicken. Now, I myself, I enjoy a steak, once or twice, a week, normally because I have leftovers. My wife now will do some steak from time to time, but she never really ate a lot anyways, but she has limited that. So those are some of those foods that, again, just because you avoid those doesn't mean you're cured. Just because you avoid those doesn't mean you won't get cancer. My wife barely did any of the stuff anyways, got it again, barely did it even less, got it again. But whatever we can do in life to put ourselves at the best possible chance of living a healthy life is what we want to do. And that's what this book is about. Again, is just how can we live a life better, or give that gift to someone else. You may not need the book, but maybe you know someone else that can. And that's why we wanted to get it out there at an affordable cost for everyone. So most people can say, like, yeah, chances are, sadly, someone that's been impacted by breast cancer. I don't know too many people that have not. So you might say, I don't really need it, but $19, that's not a problem. I'm going to go ahead and get it for someone that I know. So what I want to do now, again, is take a minute to see if there's any questions that have come in that relate to nutrition too. And again, I'll come back as we progress and you're like, oh, I forgot to ask something, please don't hesitate. But just give me 1 second. Let me see if we have a question that's come in. And let's see, we have, do I have to eat all organic? Another great question. I don't believe so. My wife, now we do eat more organic than not. The reason for that, from everything, and our reasoning for that is less pesticides when you're eating organic, less chemicals. not really knowing what some of those chemicals do to our bodies, and again, knowing what your body's just gone through, you probably want to stay as close to that as you can. Now, again, I realize organic tends to be more costly than non-organic. So in the case of vegetables and fruits, if you can't afford it, your store doesn't carry it, whatever it may be, definitely wash off all your vegetables, all your fruits for sure. That's one way to help get some of that off. As far as organic with other foods may go, you know, protein powders, cereals, things like that too. You just really want to watch how much they're processed. The more processed something is, typically the more stripped down it is, the less nutrients it has. We are trying to get you as many nutrients as we can without needing to take a ton of supplements and do it naturally, which leads to another question someone asked as far as what supplements do I recommend. You know, that's a tough one because, again, everyone's so different. For me to really recommend any to someone, I would like to be working with her or him just to know, because I feel supplements should supplement your diet. So that's why we want to try and eat more of the foods that we recommend in the book to help build your immune system. Stay away from the foods that can compromise it, and you won't have to supplement as much. But most individuals are going to take a multivitamin because most of the foods we eat nowadays just don't provide us as many vitamins as they used to. Fish oils, I feel, are great, natural, they're affordable. You can get them many different places. We do have brands we like, and I'd be more than happy to share those with you if you reach out to me. But you know, I don't want to sit here and push any products on anyone, any particular brand, I should say. But fish oils can be good. Again, as I mentioned earlier, omega-3s are really good for your anti-inflammatory inside. Glutamine is an amino acid. That's one that can help with your immune system, your musculoskeletal system. Especially when you're exercising, your body tends to pull to use it to rebuild. For women or men that are older, they tend to recommend it as well too. So typically it comes in powder, but those would be three. For most people, I'd recommend. Someone might need a little more vitamin C for their immune system. Someone might need a little more vitamin D. Again, those are things you can definitely get your blood work done and get into that. So I do suggest supplementation, but again, I suggest a supplementation after we get the diet more in check. Along with nutrition, obviously, and a fit guide, you know, to post-breast cancer recovery means fitness is going to be related. So we want to talk about exercise. So what I'd like to do is go into some tips on what you can do in regards to exercise, and how you can maybe start that, and things to avoid if you're noticing anything throughout your exercise. So our next slide that we're going to go into, just bear with me 1 second. Is what should I do when I want to get back into exercise? And some things to be mindful of. So if at any time you're feeling nauseous, stop exercising, especially for those of you who are recently recovering. This isn't a book about, oh my gosh, this is a killer workout, and I threw up and it was amazing, and you guys got to try this. That's not what healthy and fitness is about. Some individuals may get nauseous doing that because, again, whatever treatments they've gone through, however long it's been since they exercised, their nutrition, their sleep, whatever it is. But if you do experience that, you should stop. If you notice any swelling and or pain in your joints, you should stop. If your knees are hurting you, if your elbows, if your shoulders, whatever it may be. Now, again, a lot of these tips may seem as common sense for people that have exercised before, and these are things that I would hope that you would stop if you were exercising just in general. But for you, having gone through what you did, you really want to be mindful of these things. Chest pain. Chest pain we want to watch. Is it chest pain because you feel a pull? Maybe you've had a double mastectomy or you've had surgery there. We don't want to tear anything. Is it chest pain because of heart? You're you can't breathe very well. Either way, if you experience any chest pain, we want to stay away from that. And that's what the workout, you'll see a couple pictures, and we'll get into that a little more, is as far as the exercises that I recommend throughout the book, not only help to open up your shoulders specifically, but even some of the lifts that we're going to do. If you notice any unusual muscle pain, again, it's common to have some soreness and tightness after exercise, but if things hurt or you feel a strain or something feels torn, whatever area that may be, we want to stop. I realize when we're talking breast cancer, we're talking about your breast, but you have to realize your whole body has been under stress. So everything is going to be compromised. If you have blurred vision, we want to stop. And if you feel any numbness and or tingling, you should stop. Any of these things, if you experience them, you should if you're with a fitness coach, let him or her know. If you're not, you should, and even if you are, you should definitely reach out to your doctor and let your doctor know what you experienced and how often that has been. But I would definitely stop if you experience any of those. Exercise, while important, we don't want you to regress. And sadly, what we don't want to have happen is you're like, okay, nothing was done with my legs. It was all breast cancer. I'm going to go and crush legs. But again, you don't realize I haven't worked out in however many weeks, or haven't worked out at the intensity that I'm used to. You go and try and get into like the way you used to go, and now all of a sudden you hurt your hamstring, you hurt your knee, you hurt your low back doing deadlifts because you're going too heavy. So again, going back to our tips, start off slowly. And so what we're going to get into now, I'll see if there's any questions. I might just hold off on these as we're going to get into the exercise a little bit more. But we have, what type of exercise are good for breast cancer patients, which we're going to address, and what types would hurt. So let's get into the next section, and then we'll address those questions throughout that section too, if that's okay. Again, if if you're one of the 10 that gets this, or you just decide you want my coaching anyways, and I write you up workouts for you to do on your own, or for your coach who maybe would want my assistance in coaching you. If you experience any of those things, let me know as well too, and we can discuss what the next step would be to resolve that issue. But what I'd like to do now is show you a little slide about what the exercises are going to look like, how the demonstrations are. So because some of you may be out there saying, I really don't have a background in exercise. I don't know what you're talking about. If you were to say do a bent over rear delt or a YTA or a plie squat, it sounds like a foreign language to me. So in the book, we try to provide pictures for virtually every exercise. We have a written description for every exercise. We have the sets and reps that we suggest for you. Sets would be, you're going to do something one time, that's one set. You're going to do it 2 times, that's 2 sets. Reps would be, I'm going to do 10 of them, or I'm going to do 15 of them, whatever it may be. So we have our recommendations. We'll have 2 options in there too. Option 1 is for those individuals who maybe don't have much of a background in exercise. So it's more simple. It's not necessarily easy, that's relative. But we try to keep the movements and the program design a little simpler. Or option 1 is for those women who maybe do have a background, however, have gone through a double mastectomy, have gone through chemotherapy, and they've been out of commission for a while, so they need to get into it even slower. Option number 2 is for those that maybe are able to return to activity a little quicker, or having completed option 1 can now go to option 2. So we didn't just want this to be, okay, I only do this for 2 weeks and then where I'm at, where do I go? So we have those options in there. Again, these are just guidelines. I'm not there with you, so I can't say if you should do the 10 reps or the 15 reps. However, know this, typically lighter weight are higher reps. So anything over 12 reps is great for tendon, ligament, connective tissue strength. It allows you to work on form. The chances of injury are greatly reduced than if you're going for 4 or 6 reps and you're going heavy. So for any of you that are starting off, I would definitely suggest going a little lighter. Tracking your progress is crucial too. With the nutrition, I suggest you keep a log of how you're feeling and what you're eating. and with the exercise too. So then that way you know, and it's a great milestone for you to say, like, I used to start off and I couldn't do any weight. You know, I was doing 5-pound dumbbells, and while my goal isn't to, you know, necessarily do 50, this is awesome that I'm stronger. My wife, I know, she's so happy now, right? Because she can lift her arms up over her head. And, you know, for a while, it was only getting up to, you know, right about here. So it's those little milestones that you may not think are significant, but really everything is. So tracking that is a great way for you to build, because, you know, depending on the kind of treatment you had, you might have lost a lot of weight and you want to put some on. You may have gained a lot of weight and you might want to lose it. But your body, until it heals, isn't going to react the way you want it to with all of that. So setting some of these other goals is great to do. So I'm going to pull up for you here real quick what that slide looks like. Okay, here it is for you. So you can see right here, day one, you see the strength training, and you can see me coaching my wife. Those are actually YTAs there. And option 2, down there you see dumbbell or squat to dumbbell press with one of her good friends. So underneath you would see a description of the movements too. But that's what you're going to see throughout the book, is those coaching tips, so you can see the proper form with those. So I hope that you find that useful as you're looking through the pictures. We also have in there recommendations as far as how many days to do yoga, cardio, because strength training is only one part of it. You know, strength training for a woman too is crucial because it helps fight osteoporosis. It helps build that tendon, that ligament, that connective tissue strength of muscles that I mentioned. However, we want to work that cardiovascular strength too. So that's important to do too. And flexibility is crucial, especially after dealing with it. So my wife loves yoga. You know, getting right back into yoga, she wasn't going in a push-up to down dog to crow. For those of you who are familiar with yoga, you know, she had to work into that, and she still isn't able to do what she used to do because of range of motion. So while it tends to be more of a guy thing, we think like ego. Ladies, you know, sometimes you have to leave that ego at the door and just do what you're able to do and be appreciative of that. And again, making those measurements. Like, you know, I remember when she came back, she's like, I'm so excited I can do a push-up on my toes again off my knees. You know, where she was doing that prior, but you don't realize how weak things can get when you have a massive procedure like that done. So again, one of the questions was, what type of exercises are good for breast cancer patients and what types would hurt me? So as far as exercises that are good, anything that can help open up that chest, bring the shoulders back is going to be great. We have in there YTAs, bent over rear delts, rows, things like that, which again, for some of you, you may know. If you don't know, that's what you'll find in the book. We also have on my website, scottkeppel.com, in our gallery, we have several dozen pictures. We have videos on YouTube. So combined, we have over 60 resources that you can see as far as proper form and exercise too. Again, those are just for anyone to do, but the book talks about specifically what you should do. Squats even. You know, some individuals, again, depending on what kind of procedure they have done, may have a hard time putting a bar on their back and getting their arms behind because of that range of motion. So we might suggest a prisoner squat where we put the hands behind the head. You know, maybe you can interlace the hands, but as you can see, that's going to help open up the chest. So a squat becomes more than just a squat. It becomes a movement to help open you up and help you with your posture too. What movements can hurt me? You know, again, dependent on your strength level, your range of motion, what you went through. Honestly, any movement could hurt you. Typically, we want to stay away from a lot of chest movements. We really don't want to do like flies, especially if you did have a procedure done, because that stretching can pull and tear something much easier. You know, I don't have too many women after breast cancer do a lot of chest. Most women don't do a lot of chest anyways, because let's face it, it's either fat or implants. Anyways, I mean, that's what the breasts are. They're fatty tissue. So you're not really going to be sculpting your pecs per se as much as a male would. Not to say you shouldn't do chest exercises, but if you've had the procedure done you kind of want to weigh those options. Is it really worth it? And I would say anything that's really opening you up to where you're then pulling across your chest probably would avoid those movements. Again, your doctor, physical therapist, they can help you out with that as well too. So the last thing we want to discuss is mindset. So we've discussed 7 tips that are great for women or men who are dealing with breast cancer. We've gone into nutrition, and again, in the book, we have those tips that you can get in a fit guide to post-breast cancer recovery. We have top 10 foods that we like. We have foods to avoid. We have a sample grocery list. We have a formula you can use to give you a generalization of how many calories you should probably eat. So we have all that. In the Fit Guide to Post-Breast Cancer Recovery, we also have exercise, what to do when you should stop exercise, and sample plans as far as what you should do to get back into exercise. So that's all in there for you. The last part, like I said, is the mindset. And just some words of encouragement. You know, for us, I know we would not be where we're at without the love and support of our friends and our family and our faith in God. So we're grateful to that. But without that, we definitely, it would have been a much harder road than it needed to be. The doctors that my wife had, all the support that she's had was amazing. And that's why we wanted to share this book. That's why we do our Busting Butts to Save Breasts event every year. 100% of the proceeds go to charity with our event, because we just want to give back and help give people hope. And that's what this book is about again. A Fit Guide to Post-Breast Cancer Recovery is not a cure. This is not going to prevent cancer. Sadly, I wish it could. I would love more than anything just to give that power to someone. But what this book will do, I believe with all my heart, is it will provide you with some hope. This book will provide you with some structure, some knowledge that maybe you didn't have before, as far as, again, those foods to eat, to avoid, exercises to do, exercises to not do. That's what I want is, you know, I think, you know, for, you know, the $19, you're definitely going to learn something. And if you don't get it this month and you decide to wait, or you see this webinar later on and you decide to get it, you know, even for $40, you know, what would you pay, you know, to have some knowledge that could help you after you've gone through breast cancer? I know for us, you know, we've invested a lot, you know, insurance-wise, counseling, rehab, massage. Obviously, yeah, my wife has me as a coach, so we don't have to hire a coach for that. But just the education that I've gone into for that, just to help with our kids, to help with our family. You know, so it's something that to take from the Stockdale Paradox, which is in the book A Good to Great, one of my favorite books, is, you know, you must have unwavering faith while facing the brutal facts. The brutal facts is, you know, my wife had breast cancer twice. We have 3 amazing kids. We don't have family that live in Arizona. And, you know, it was hard. But we have amazing family that came out to help us. We have amazing friends. And we had unwavering faith that we were given this, this cross to bear, to be able to spread the word out to other people and to help them. So I want to just show you just a couple of the things some of my wife's friends have said about her. Again, her therapist, Larissa, you know, patience, compassion, and support are important for those loved ones that are fighting this unfortunate disease. Be patient with them as they hit different forks in the road. Be compassionate as they go through various stages of emotions. Support them each new day as they are one day closer to being cancer-free. The biggest change are from one of our other friends. Stay calm. You may have cancer, but that doesn't mean it has you. You need to take control. Learn as much as you can about the disease. Support is key from family and friends. You know, and I couldn't say it any better. You know, it definitely is. So Again, maybe you don't need this book. I hope that you don't. But maybe you know someone that does, and maybe that's the support you can give them. Calling them up, offering them, if you live local, to bring them over dinner, to help them if they have kids. Something that's really important for the husband and wife is to try and be as normal as you can. Still take time to go out on the date. Still take time, again, because the more you sit around and you fester on that you have cancer or you had cancer, it's going to own you. And studies show those individuals that keep thinking, keep thinking that negative thought, the likelihood of it coming back is increased significantly because of the stress, rather than those that say, listen, I had it, I'm done with it right now. If it comes back, it comes back, and I'll beat it again. So those are just some of the things that I encourage people to try and live each day with it. And again, being the husband of a woman who's had breast cancer, there were times, and I was definitely, I'm not going to lie, worried, concerned. Having 3 kids, our oldest now is 13, and we have an 11 and an 8-year-old. So obviously, again, first time she was diagnosed, they were 5 years younger, and just sitting there, needing to tell them, like, why is mommy sick? Was rough. Why can't mommy play with me? Why can't she go to my games? Why can't she go to my dance recitals? Is she going to be okay? And again, we knew she would be okay, but we couldn't say, yeah, she'll be okay next week. She'll be okay, give her 2 weeks and she'll be right back to it. So we just had to, help teach our kids, and I think our kids are better because of this too. So again, you can take something that can be tragic and you can turn it into something that can be positive, and you can use it to change the world, which is what we want to do. So I just want to take a minute to see if we have any more questions that have come in. What types of foods do you recommend I eat while exercising? And how do I keep my wife motivated? And does she ever get frustrated? So again, the foods, we kind of went over some of those foods. We have a whole list, as far as, what you should eat. Some people do well with grains, some people don't. That's why tracking your food is very important. There's so many free apps out there now. I suggest and I send people a sheet that they can track what they're eating, how much they're eating, how they're feeling. And again, my wife actually, she had to get rid of eating almonds and eggs for about a month because her body had built up allergens, and when she would eat them, she would get irritated. So if she's irritated, who knows what that's doing internally, and again, it's compromising that immune system. So just being mindful of that, I would say, is one of the biggest tips I can give you. How do I keep my wife motivated? I try to do that by being a good role model for our children, being supportive of her, encouraging her to take the time to exercise. Don't worry, you're not being selfish. At times, I know, especially mom, we call it mom guilt, right? You might be like, oh, how can I ever find time? Maybe you're the home provider for the most part. You're the one that's taking care of the home. Not to say that you couldn't be out in the workforce. Maybe you're doing both. I don't know your dynamics. But I can tell you, when you're going through the treatment, you're probably, things are going to be changed a little bit, but you still need to take that time for yourself. And that's something I try to really encourage my wife to do is, take time, go get your nails done, go get a massage, go to yoga, get your hair done, other things to help take her mind off of this disease. And does she ever get frustrated? Oh yeah. She does. I do. Our kids do. They want to play. They don't understand why this happened. And what we have tried to change our mindset to is, instead of why, that was our first thing when she first got it, like, why, or how did this happen? Why did this happen? Is it happened. Now what are we going to do? So my question to you is, now it's happened, maybe for you, for a loved one, instead of worrying and focusing on the why or how it happened, what are you going to do now? What you can do is, again, you can pick up our book for $19 the rest of this month. You will get the 4 weeks of coaching at no cost. If you're not the first 10, you can still get the coaching and the book for $19 as long as you get it in October. coaching then would be $99. In November, prices are going to go up. So, we have a few days left in the month. So I suggest you get out there and, again, what are you going to do? Thank you for your time. I hope that you found this to be informative and you're ready to go out and live a healthier life and a better life after having cancer.